Hello, guys. I think that I was having some technical difficulties. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I thought, I mean, there was some changes on Zoom here. Woof. And I have to basically start the webinar, and then I was like missing the clicky here. So that's very good. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. And I'm so glad that you're hanging down there a little bit until we get this figure out, this new Zoom feature. But anyway, I'm Silvia Davis. I'm very happy to be here today and be present for you the Get Start with Data Manager. So that's a continuation of my previous session that was like 2, 3 weeks ago. And with me, I have Kate. Kate, do you wanna just to go over, introduce yourself? I know that you have been driving this session, so go ahead.
Yeah, hello everyone. So I'm very happy that we'll start today's session. So I am Kate. This session is the part of our mini series, Jira Service Management Summer Expedition. In this series, we try to talk about more advanced features according to Jira Service Management, and definitely Data Asset Manager is more advanced feature. So I'm very happy that today we'll have got a chance to organize such, I guess we can say, workshop, because it will be a practical session about this tool. So I think that we can go with it.
Yeah, good. So Kate, I also have my co-workers, Claudia Oliveira. I have also Ricky Lefford and Eugene Polgar. I want just quickly to get them introducing themselves if they can. They are going to help as moderator and answer questions as well because we have a pack agenda. So Claudia is our sales engineer, solution architect. She helps a lot with this JSM. I would say demos and presentation to customers. Rick works with my team, technical product marketing. He is working several cool stuff that's coming the near future. And Eugene Pogar, our product management, that also has been helping in the whole JSM arena, but even more even assets as well. He has a very good knowledge on that. But I mean, other than that, let's jump because we have a very packed agenda. Is that okay? Okay,
Yeah, and
so
I think that we can also say that this session is being recorded and it will be published on YouTube after the session, and you will receive an email with link to the recording, but also we will attach some additional material, some useful links about Data Assets Manager. So I think that we can start. As Silvia said, we have got a lot of things in agenda for today.
okay, perfect. And if there is some issues in terms of technicalities, let me know. Kate, I'm here also in my, chat area. So I'm gonna be sharing my screen and let's dive in. There is like, as I mentioned, a very packed agenda. So just a little bit of house cleaning here, and then I would like also to ask Kate and Claudia, Ricky, and Eugene to also help with aspects of the Q&A and moderating, and even if there is something important, like let me know if there is any questions, right? We can go through. So guys, first of all, I want to just go here about this workshop. This is a session that's more technical for technical administrators. So I want just to set expectations as we mentioned. The second one is this is not a comprehensive training. We are going to have additional training sessions in the near future, but this is a hands-on workshop. You can follow along. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm not going to be able to wait for everyone to get every step done. So that's going to be that training in the future. But follow along as much as you can. And if you have questions, put the questions in the QA. We have several people that can help as well, and myself. And then again, do the number of large participants. We're not going to be able to like maybe complete every task, like you might not be, but you can always watch the recording and go from there. I hope that you understand that those aspects about this workshop. Okay. So today what I want to do is I will just give you like a very quick overview for those that didn't watch my video before, right? It's like a quick preview of what the value of Assets Data Manager. But in this session, I'm gonna walk you through in how to create an integration, how to bring the data into Assets Data Manager, like ingest the data and run the job, I'm going to also show how to map, cleanse, and reconcile the data, how to do some analysis with search, and also how to create some dashboards. And then also the most important, bring the data into schemas. Okay, so as you can see, it's a very packed agenda. So that said, so just this is a very quick overview. Like data manager helps to bring data from different data sources. Nowadays, companies, even yesterday, I talked to another customer. They have data everywhere, right? Nowadays, it's like a federated type of CMDB. But how you get all this data and how you can make this data be valuable for you and reliable when you are solving problems, making changes, and knowing the environment, of course, and avoiding outages, right? So that's how that works. Basically, data manager helps to bring data from different types of sources like assets, configuration, management, discovery tools, system management tools, also ERP. I mean, any type of data that you want to bring. And then we basically map to one major object and then cleanse, normalize, and reconcile. And then you can bring this data on schemas. The major value with data manager, and here I'm saying, showing the screen in terms of like the system, right? The capabilities. You can bring data from different data sources as I have here, and you can already see some discrepancies. So you can have a very good golden record. So I have 29,000 records here to be selected and then even move it to my schema. I don't need to move all these records. I can also select which records I want to move to schemas. And with this data, you can always download and do even whatever you want with that data. It's a very powerful tool. And on top of that, there is many analysis like comparing your data with data from like antivirus or data from like patches that you do, and then finding out some vulnerabilities in terms of security or even financial. So you do have a ton of capabilities. So this is a very like those like seconds from Netflix show showing what I went through the last time. So at least we are on the same page for those that missed that. So now going back to my basically workshop. So going here in this screen, and I showed this before, but now today we are gonna go in a very detail in how to basically connect to different data sources, do the integration, create a job, and then run this job. I know that a lot of people get sometimes stuck on this aspect because you use the terminal, right? And then transform the data, mapping, cleansing, import. So also the cleanse and reconciliation, import assets, and optimize. Okay, so let's go through all these steps, and then I'm gonna slow down, and then we can basically go and do some of this stuff together. So as I mentioned before in my prereqs, right? And then I'm gonna go quickly here. If you have done your homework, you probably have this part done. And then before you start, right, you always need to enable Data Manager and set up the permissions. And by the way, I have good news. Very soon, we are going to be also providing some data within your Data Manager instance, so you can even see the results even before loading some data. So that's good that we are going to, whenever you do a trial from our environment, we are going to preload some data so you can also see the results. But nowadays, whenever you jump to your data manager, you're not going to see anything that I show you because you need data, right, to basically do that analysis. But anyway, so going back here, before you start enabling data manager and setting up its permissions. So what I will do is I will go here. Let me just duplicate this screen here. And then I'm going to go to schemas. So first thing that you always need to do, and then the configuration used to be like around here, but now with the new navigation is here. So asset settings, and then if you haven't done that yet, take the moment and then make sure that you do this. Go to your general settings, go to data manager, and toggle here, turn on Assets Data Manager. Even though it says beta is GA, it's just because my environment was set up a couple of days before the beta, okay, the GA. So, but everything now is GA in terms of Data Manager. So here you toggle here, and something very important is add here, right, your name as a data admin and adapters. So you can have access in these two options and capabilities within Data Manager. Okay, so that's a very, very important piece. We are going to come back to this screen, and then something that you even can do as you are here now. I'm going to actually go and show you something. Here is where we generate token and copy workspace. So we are going to come back here, but I'm just like pointing out that here is where we get the token and workspace AG to run our job. But let's just save that information for later. I will come back here again. Okay. So going back to my presentation, right? I want to we enable that. And now we are going to move to the step one. So if you see here, is step one, integrate, create a job, run a job, and transform the data. Okay. So first of all, I want just to show some important information, how this works, because a lot of people get sometimes confused, right, about how the integration works. So first point is you create a job. And this job is basically a predefined configuration that just make like a conversation between assets data manager and your external source. Okay. So this is just basically saying, hey, I am data manager. Hey, I'm your data source. Let's talk. Okay. Then we have to download a data manager adapter client to run the job. So this is what we say. This is not an agent-based tool. This is like agentless. So I need to execute a job, or say, or in other words, go to the adapter or download the adapter in my machine, in a local machine, can be a virtual machine. And then I'm gonna run this command line. And this command line is gonna say, hey, start this conversation with my external source and bring this data into Data Manager. Okay, so I'm gonna pause here and just go one more time. So we create a job. That's a conversation between these 2 points, JSM and your external source. And then I execute a job to say, hey, now get this data and bring into JSM. So important points. This here is just in a local machine. It can be also, as I mentioned, virtual machine, but remember, this here doesn't bring any data in this location. The data goes straight from one point, this external source, direct to GSM. And if you're using API, it's API to API. Or if you're using OGBC SQL, again, is the OGBC SQL to OGBC SQL directly. So your external source to your JSM data manager instance. Okay? So now that I explained that, what we're gonna do is we are gonna create a job, and then we are gonna run a job. Okay. So I'm gonna go to an instance that is properly for this type of environment. I would say workshop. And then this instance, I basically create, I have also some of these jobs already created automatically, as I mentioned, our future trial instances are going to be populated with this data. So you can also already do some tests. But what I did is I got this job here. So let's say I'm going to go create a job. I'm going to actually just mention something here. I create this job and then I update with my information so we can basically see what's going on here. I'm going to first do an example with a flat file job. So if you want to create a job, bring a CSV file, right? I'm going to click here and then I'm going to put a name of this flat file or job. I would say that's the name of the job. So I'm going to call this AD, Active Directory. I'm saying that's enable. I'm going to add a new like data source that creating this data source that I'm going to basically connect. I'm going to, oh, this is very important, where this data is going to be mapped into. So we have 5 out of the box objects. So one is compute to create all like the compute data, other for network, other for people, peripherals, and software. And this is software catalog, okay? So for this one, I'm gonna just get my data on the compute one. Okay, so this object is out of the box. It has attributes already, but you can create new attributes. So it's very flexible. So now data source. So I already have some data sources here, but I can create a data source type. So this is also tricky. So if I want to create a new data source, I'm gonna just create like a new one and say AD1 because I already have my Active Directory one. I'm just create a new one here. Then I'm gonna look at this. I'm gonna click enter and then look at this green box here. So it created my raw data repository for this data source out of the blue here, right? So as soon as I click enter, right, it create a new. So that's something that might be in your instance, you might not see anything, but you can say like AD Active Directory, and then boom, it's gonna create that data source. And then my data source name, I'm gonna create AD1 because I already have my Active Directory one. Oh, actually, let me just go here. Yeah. Data source name. Yeah. One. And then here, my file path. So this is where my CSV file is. So I'm creating this CSV file job, but I'm going to create one as an API just as an example as well. Okay. So where is the file that I'm gonna upload? And then if you did the pre-rec work, you probably have download already the file in a folder, okay? So very important here, I'm gonna just jump in another screen here. I have my document here, so data manager set up, and then this is where my files are. My data manager file folder is, okay, my CSV file. So I'm gonna copy here. I'm gonna go back here. Then I'm gonna say where my file is. And I also need to say my file name is ad.csv. Okay, so I have like this file path, and I have also the name of my file. I don't have file wildcard. Actually, I'm gonna show you something now. I'm gonna stop sharing and share my whole screen because I want to show you something important. Uh, uh, uh. So you guys are seeing my full screen now, right? Give me a thumbs up if you're seeing my whole screen. Good.
Yes, we see your whole screen.
Okay, so here's some tips for you guys. I'm in my Mac, right? My AG file CSV is right here, as you can see. So what I can do to here is copy my whole path name and then even go here and then copy here. Now, something that's important is you need to know how is your text file. Oops, yeah. So I'm opening my text file now here. This is my CSV file, okay, my raw file. And then you can see that I have like the first line here is my, the names of my columns, okay? So I don't need to skip any line. Skip line is if I have some other text before my headers, okay? And the limiter, so I have comma as the limiter. For some fields, I have a qualifier as my, double quotes. I'm gonna put here. So you need to know how is your file in order to bring that in. And then it's not ending with any delimiter, so you can see here. And then this is the cool part of the feature. So I'm gonna copy here all my header, right? And then I can just do this, like copy here, the whole header, and say out generate. So this, remember, this is just for CSV files, a little more complex than API, but at least you can see how you can bring data, like I would say a sample data within Data Manager. But look what happens. So as soon as I copy and paste and say out generate, it generates all my column mappings, right? And then you can see name, right? Domain, distinguished name, operating system, service spec, full OS, and inventory data. So look at that, the inventory data here, date is like day, month, and year. And I want this to come as dates. I don't want to come as string. So I can select here to date, and then also select the format, DDMM. Okay. All right. Okay. So once I select the format and verify which fields I want to bring, etc., I can just save. And now I have my job created. Easy, right? I mean, some way is a CSV file. You need to understand what data you are bringing. Okay. So that's a very important tip. Now, let's go back and then I'm gonna save that. Then I'm gonna go here in my data and I have an example as an API. So this is a fake, okay, LensWeeper API. So you can even see this, but that's not gonna work in our environment because I put here just for a test. So now I'm gonna create a new job, right? And then what I'll do is I'll go and select LensWeeper. So I'm gonna say I want to create a LensWeeper data source, enable, and then object class is gonna go to my compute. So both my CSV file, my LensWeeper is gonna be, this data is gonna go inside of my compute and reconcile my compute object, okay? So my data source type LensWeeper, my data source name, I'm gonna also repeat the same name. And then the source type, so I can use API or SQL. So I'm gonna use API. I just add my token and that's it. Simple, right? So again, whenever you are creating, I have my LensWeeper API now. So you have flat files and LensWeeper, that's an API. So going back here, actually, let me just go back here in the LensWeeper. If you want to do a SQL, then you want also a connection string, and then you also can enter the query that you want to do. Okay. So something that I want to show you that's important. So this is kind of a workshop with tips. Okay. So another tip is you can always do this. Click on Atlassian, type Atlassian, SAC, Data Manager, and let's say the adapter that you want to kind of check it out. LensWeeper. So here you go straight to the page where we have Data Manager LensWeeper. It talks how to connect the Data Manager fields, LensWeeper fields, authentication authorization, right? And the API call. So basically when you're using API, these are the fields that are going to be retrieved. And then if you are using SQL, those are the fields that are being retrieved. So for each adapter, we have a page like that, like GenF, Intune, right, Qualys, and then we have the information that's being retrieved to Data Manager. If you need more data than we are retrieving, I recommend using the OGBC SQL, right, or flat files. And a question that I always get is, do you have an open API? No, I don't have an open API yet for Data Manager. We are working on that. But then you can always bring data, JSON data into schema and bring the data from schema right here. Because again, schema data also gets old. So it's important as well to reconcile that information. Okay? So if you have a chance, like as I mentioned, I'm gonna just pause here. And if you want to go to the all jobs, I'm gonna click in my AD here, and I'm gonna give you like a few minutes if you want to try to do that. And I'm gonna pause and see if there is questions as you try to do this. Is there any questions? Kate, can you check for me, please?
We had some questions, but all of them are answered. So I think that we can go there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you can continue. 1 second. I'm gonna drink some water. Okay, so now moving along, we create a job, right? And then let's go back here. So something important, this is just best practice, okay? So always think about what data sources do you want to bring into Data Manager or assets actually. You start maybe with 3 integrations so you can see the value. Just one integration sometimes doesn't show a lot of value because, I mean, you are reconciling data, and then the cool part is to see that reconciliation and also cleansing the data that you want, right? Define the adapters that you want to use, flat file, API, or Active Directory API. Always look what information those types of adapters are requiring. And also you have the sample data, use the sample data that I sent you, like 3 files at least, and you can get started with that. So, and then we went to creating a job. Let's go now. Oh, by the way, very important, just the example of Lansweeper that I gave, but always talk to your security or the owner of the data, right? Because whenever you are accessing external data, you need to talk to the owner of the data and get the API, and then make sure that you have also the right security or access permissions to get that data. Because sometimes I see customers that they get stuck because they get API, but sometimes we don't have permission to basically get that data. So it's very important to talk to the owner of the data or the security person that is responsible for that particular data source. Okay, so those are very important tips. Now we are gonna move to the fun part. We're gonna run the job. So we create a job, now we run the job. To run the job, there is like a command line. So if you did your homework, you probably already download your adapter, right? And you might have your adapter in your machine. So to do this run or to execute, so you have the adapter, you have to run that, and then you need the workspace ID, the token, and the name of the job. So the workspace ID and API token I kind of mentioned to you, but we are gonna go and collect, and then the job that we create. So this is an example of a workspace ID, this is an example of a token, and this is an example of a job name, okay? So we are gonna collect that data, and then here is an example of a command line. So it's basically the name of the adapter, dash dash workspace ID, and then token, and then run. So this is basically the command line that you should run to execute the job. So let me show how that works, okay? So going through here, let's go back here. Something that I mentioned to you before, it's always good to have a page with all the information. So I have like what is my instance, what are the admin users, the sample data, and then here basically I have also my token and workspace ID, but I'm gonna show you how to get that. So we're gonna go to here and schemas, then I'm gonna go to the configuration, general settings, go to data manager, and then token. I'm gonna, you see that I already generate 2 tokens. And then once I generate this token, okay, I cannot access this token again. I mean, I need to save that information. And you can save also in, like, you probably have some tools for security that you can also have the token saved there if you need to. So I can just say AMA, right? Um, Data manager, and then I can say that's the adapter client. Remember, we also have cleanse and import client token for us to also execute the cleanse and import automatically. So this can be done also in a command line. I'm gonna talk about that later, but there is 2 tokens that you can generate. The one to run the job is the adapters client token. Okay, so I select that one. And then I can define if it's going to expire in 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. I'm going to select 3 months. And then next. So once this is generated, you copy this information and save in somewhere, I would say secure. Okay, so that's where I would put my token here. So I already saved my token. I'm not gonna save it again, but I have that here. And then the second aspect is, okay, close. We're gonna go and copy my workspace ID. So I copy that information, just click copy, right? And this information now is in the clipboard. And I'm gonna go back here to my, kind of notes and copy my workspace ID. So once I have these two items here, and as you can see here, I document everything. I document my job parameters, I document my job information, my lens per key, and then I go here, run the job. So this is the command line that I mentioned before. So DM adapters, workspace ID, token, and run. So what I need to do is basically get this token information and put here right after token, as you can see, and get my workspace ID, put right here after the workspace ID, and then I also add my name of the job. So is that clear how to create this command line? Let me see thumbs up. Are you guys stuck? No reaction? So Kate, is any questions there so far before I execute this command line?
Yes, it's a question, but it's not about command line. It's about exporting and sharing data manager setup template from Confluence. If you can export and share your data manager setup.
Oh yeah, I can. All this document I export and then share that with you guys, because that's a very good, like I would say, template, right? That you can document everything that you are doing, because again, if you're gonna move to production, it's always good to have this documentation. So finally, I saw some thumbs up here. Okay, good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop sharing and share my whole screen again, because I want to show exactly how to do this. So look at here, I have my, folders, right? And then I have my data manager data, and then I have another folder where I have my DM adapters, okay? So to go there very easily in terminal, I just can click here and then open my terminal, okay? So when I open my terminal, I'm already in my adapter folder, assets adapter folder. And then what I need to do here is just copy this command line and put it here. Okay. So one important piece is here, whenever you do, you need to make sure that you are in this folder. You have your command line, and then my data manager adapter is saying that I didn't update yesterday, so it's saying that's a new version. Always make sure that you have the latest version. It's gonna run anyway, but it's always good to have the latest version of adapter, okay? And then that's it. It's gonna running. I'm running my previous one, my compute AD. And then once it's finished, it's gonna say if there is any error or if it was successful. Majority of the times when I'm running something for API is security issues. And whatever time I'm running something related to CSV file, sometimes we have some issues related to the date or the format of the field. So most of the times some errors that I see is that. Or sometimes, you are not like you didn't write the correct path for your CSV file. That also can happen. So that's how you do. It's still running. And then, I mean, it shouldn't take too long, probably my network or so. As it's running, I'm gonna go back here and then I'm gonna show you the recent jobs. As you can see here, the status is it's interesting because it's running, right? And then I can click here. Yeah, usually it doesn't take that long. It's very fast, but it's still running. God knows why it's taking a little bit longer. Probably my network. But as you can see here, right, it's running right now as 24, 938. And then you can always see the results of this job that's running right here. So the results of the data, right? And then let's see here, the job execution history. So it's still running here. Okay, there you go. The operation was successful, right? I'm gonna click here again. Takes a couple of seconds also to refresh my screen. Yeah, it's still loading the data. I think this AG has a lot of data too. That's probably why it's taking a little longer. But anyway, so is you see how to oh yes, that's good. So you see how to run the job now, and then also how the data gets into data manager. Okay, there you go. It finished it. And now I have my raw data. So right here. And then the next step basically is to map to my compute and then cleanse the data and reconcile. Okay, so we are gonna go to those steps. Something important, right? Just to see if your data manager is working, right? There is one command line that I want to show you, is right here. So for Mac users, you can just type like DM, or even for how do I say, for Windows, oops, sorry, here, for Windows, I'm just gonna clean up my line here. Oops, sorry, I'm clicking up something incorrectly. So I want to just delete here. And then I want to show you something. If you type like DM adapters and dash dash, I could just do this easily. And then help, so you can see if your adapter is working. So whenever, even before you execute a job, right, you can just, as you can see here, it's part of my screen, I can just create like type help. And then you can see that my adapter also is working and all the parameters that I can use. And again, you can run this behind a proxy, so it can be run also secure. Okay, so again, if I need to run another job, I could just come here and type a different type of job name, like Lance Weeper. Okay, so it's the same command line with a different type of adapter. And you can also create a script, I would say, or basically, yeah, a script, and put all your jobs together. And also you can schedule using some scheduler from your Windows machine or your virtual machine, or even on the Mac, the Chrome. And then you can have the automation done. Okay, so you don't need to be running this manually all the time. You run once, it's working. Unless you have some change in the configuration, you might come back here and change it, but otherwise it's one time setup. Okay, so questions? No?
No, I don't see any new questions.
Okay, so coming back to my one screen, and then this back and forth is just to show, again, how to run the job, all these details. But now we are gonna basically move on the second part of the configuration. So going back here, let me just go back to my major setup. So what we did this number one. And I would say that this is the one that takes a little longer, because you need to also always to define which configuration you're going to use, get the keys, etc. Everything else here is a lot simpler, and everything else also runs in the data manager platform. Okay, so now you're going to move to map, cleanse, and import. So moving to the cleanse and import. So we are here in the schemas. I'm gonna click here on the import and analysis. And this, again, this here is my, workshop type environment. So I don't have a lot of data here, but let's go and see. I'm gonna go and cleanse and import. So you see that data here, I basically, it requires mapping, cleanse, and require, because I brought this data in. We're gonna go here and I'm gonna do my mapping. So every time that you do this for the first time, you need to map this data that you brought. So it's raw data from your data source into the compute. Okay. So if I have a name that already exists, the mapping is done automatically. So the name and type, of course, if they are the same, they map automatically. This case here, I have an inventory data, but I have an inventory data that is a string, but I want an inventory data that's a date, right? So you see, I can ignore a field. So there's fields that I don't need to map. And if you want to map, just leave ignore. But if I want to create a new field, I just can click here, create. Actually, what I'll do is I'll copy this. So it's easy, I don't need to type. And I'm gonna click here, create, and then type this. Actually, I don't need to put even the date and time here, just inventory date and save. Oh, actually, this one already exists. Let me just put one here. Okay, so I have my inventory date one, and there's a date type, and then I create the field right here. So the most important piece is to show you that you can create fields right here, right now. Or if I also want to map to something that I already have, you just basically select what you want and map to that field. So as I mentioned, all the fields are mapped automatically when they have the same name and the same type. And if you want to create, you can create fields right here. If you want also to create separate fields, you go to settings. There is another option to create attributes, but here is very easy because you can create an additional field in your compute object. Okay, so when I go back here, I can see here. Oh, actually, I don't think that I saved. Let me go back here. Yeah, I didn't save, but I'm gonna just select here, inventory date one, that's the one that I create, and then save. Very important, okay? Always save. Now it's just saying that it requires the cleanse and then the reconciliation. So the next step that I want to show is cleansing rules. So the system allows you to eliminate data that you don't want, unwanted data. And for this, we have several options. So I can exclude new or empty primary key, records that ended with some strings. I mean, any filter or data, old data, if you have like dates that's very old and or maybe like you retire or archive data, you don't need to reconcile if you don't want to. So you can eliminate those data. In this data, I'm eliminate from the data source. Basically, I'm filtering this data before this data goes into my final compute object. Okay. So in this case, I'm keeping the exclude new empty primary key or remove primary key duplicates. And I can also change the order of this because sometimes, there is some certain orders to execute those cleanses. So I'm gonna just save, select that, and then now I can do the cleansing. So to do the cleansing, I can click here and cleanse select, or I can click here and go click here, cleanse. So I'm gonna just click here, and then I can start the cleansing of this particular raw data that I brought. Okay, it's running. So eliminate 9 records. Sometimes eliminate even more, but in this case, I have 26,000 records and 9 records are basically clean up. Okay, so now that I clean, you see the status moved to import require. This import is basically the reconciliation. We call import, but this is basically getting this data into my compute object and reconcile with all these other data sources in one unique object. So something that we can see even before going there is the cleansing statistics. So I can see here the compute AG, upload 2699, importable, that is going to be reconcile. So I got 26,590 from the original file, 9 was filter, and then those basically was like, how do I say, forced cleaning, right? So the type of status that was added when I eliminate these fields. And you can see here that some other types of data sources like this CMDB was like 879. So you can see also all the data that was eliminated in here. So now the next step is reconcile. So I can reconcile everything or I can reconcile just the one that's needed. So all this is already reconciled. So basically it's gonna reconcile just this data here and normalize this data. So what I do is I can click here, import select, or I click here and import. So import selected, and then I can start and then do the import. So if you are doing this right after this webinar, right, at your own pace, what you could do is basically do 2 files. Like I send you, I think, 4 files in the zip file that is in the registration page. So you can do the 4 files, it would be even more fun. And then you can see all these records being copied and then connected and then reconciled and normalized. As you can see here is running. This 26K records was already like added. Now is basically generate what's the preferred values. So, and then there is always a question, how does the system know what's the preferred value? So we have an option in settings that I can define what is my preferred data sources. So what's the priority of the data sources? And then within those priorities for data sources, I can also define what's the priority of some attributes. Okay. So as this is running, right, I'm gonna just duplicate here my screen. Yeah, it's going, it's processing. And I mean, for 36,000 of data, right, is, as you can see, like maybe less than a minute to get all this data in. And again, let me go back here. Everything is valid now. Everything looks good. And then my final count is around 36K. And then something important is this process that I execute manually, import, and also, I mean, cleans and import can be also executed as a command line, and then you can automate that process as well. So basically you can create a script where you have all the jobs to run, so that ingest the data, another job to cleanse and import all this data, and then can be all automated. Okay, I'm gonna pause. Any questions?
We have got only one question. You answered before, but to confirm from Patricia, is REST integration already available? How to do it?
Is just what? Sorry again.
Is REST integration already available?
Oh, the REST API, no, is not available. And I'm gonna just show you something quickly here, because there is always options, right? So let's say you can integrate like API SQL, adapters, SQL DBC, flat schemas, data, and you can have JSON data or assets discovery going here into into schemas, and then from schemas you can also bring that data in. So that would be an option for now, bringing data from JSON files into schemas and bring the schemas into data manager. Okay, and then you have the golden record filter, and then you can consume it through schemas, or you can consume it through CSV files as well. So pretty flexible in some way. But I hear you, we are planning to have REST API very soon. Okay, so now that we went through, let me just go back here to this page here. So we went to the integration, cleanse and reconcile, okay? Now we are gonna talk about the import to assets, to schemas, not assets, but schemas. So we are gonna go to the create search, and then import the data, and then create search and create dashboards. Sounds good? So for that one, I'm gonna use another, let's see here, which environment I want to use here. I want to use environment that I have more data already, right? So it looks kind of nicer because I create a lot more dashboards in this environment. So the first step that I want to do is go to my analysis. And as you can see here, I have in this instance 32K, and I have my compute data. Okay, I'm gonna do advanced search. So this is basically my 32K records, all the records that were reconciled, right? And then here is basically all the data sources that I brought data in. And then here are all the fields. So for that, I just want to show you kind of this interesting data source here. You can see here. This data source, there was data from the Active Directory, app2, antivirus, CMDB. Some of these items were not mapped, right? Not brought up. but I have data from all the data sources. So look that here is data from different data sources, and then basically my SCM is priority. So majority of the fields are coming from SCM. My second is like coming from up to, some coming from AV. So you see that I can get the data from different data sources and combine in one record. And the also good news is that we have the auditing being done. I mean, if you need auditing or traceability of this data, you have that information here. So that said, for the advanced search, you have a possibility to do several types of search. And then the first one, let's say that I want just to bring data from SCCM and data from Active Directory. So I'm gonna select these two data sources, right? And then I'm gonna do a search. So this search is the data that I want to bring into assets. I can also add a new condition and say, I want also my infrastructure type to contain, let's see here, let's just look at the infrastructure type. So you see, operation system, platform, so desktops, laptops, I want all my infrastructure to be servers, okay? And then search. So I just now have servers, and I want to import only servers to schemas. Then I'm gonna save as a new search. Then I'm gonna say EMA servers, okay? So this results of this search is the one that's gonna be used when I import this data into schemas, okay? So let's go now to my, I'm gonna just duplicate here so I can have another screen to schemas. So I'm gonna go to my IT asset management. I think that's the good one. Actually, this one here. And then my settings. And then I'm gonna go to import this data. So when I import this data, I might have some examples already here. I can create a new import. And then there we go. I have the data manager import. This is something that we launched just like you a month and a half ago. So I can do the data manager import. Oops, I did select this. And then I'm gonna call my import configuration, data manager AMA, sample data servers from data manager, my description. And then here is basically the search that I create, EMA servers. So something very important about this import is I have this automatically create objects, types, and attributes. If I click and leave this on, what's gonna happen is all the attributes are gonna be created within one class, within these schemas. And if I turn this off, I can define where this is going to be saved. So basically, I can map to existing object class within schemas. Okay. So first, I'm going to just say create everything new within that particular schema. And then you can see the results. So there is some options that I can also do. Okay. So let's go here and find my oh, it's going to be up here, and I'm going to just refresh. And then my import that I just create is going to be here. See AMA GM. So I'm going to click here on editing mapping and then add mapping attributes. And then as you can see here, it creates all the fields exactly the same as I have within my data manager, okay, because I have that toggle on. So something that's important too is like I need to define what's my key identifier. On data manager, when I brought the data in, my key identifier was name. So I should change this to name. Let me find the field called name here. There we go. and I select this one as my qualifier, my key field. My environment's a little bit slow. Doing this live always take a little longer. I need to uncheck this and check this. Sometimes take a little bit of a time. It's still not checking, but bear with me. Yeah, okay, there we go. And then I'm gonna uncheck this other one. Okay, perfect, there we go. So I'm gonna bring all this data, right? And then it's gonna create all these fields, and I'm gonna just go here and import the data. So that's going to take a little bit of time because 26,000, and as you guys saw, my environment is a little bit slow today, but anyway, so it's collecting the records from data manager and bringing the data manager data into my environment, okay? So as this gets executed, I'm going to go and duplicate this. It's going even faster than I expect, that's good. And I'm going to create another import. So I'm going to click here in the import. I'm going to create a new import from data manager. And then I'm going to say EMA GM servers existing object class. So I'm going to create this new basically import, but now I'm going to map to an existing object class. I always have more options in terms of if I want how I want to treat the data, empty values and no values, and data manager values. If there is like some data that's not mapped or to compute, etc., you can decide to ignore or even to change or to replace. So, oh yeah, of course, I need the change here. So I'm going to use the same EMA servers, but this time I'm going just to mapping to something that already existing. Okay, so that was created. So you can see here, I have two imports now. Then you see that's disabled. I'm gonna do the mapping. So the mapping needs to be manually done. So I can say where I want to bring those data, right? So I can bring, oh yeah, this one that is the one that I create. So I don't have here an object class called servers. I'm gonna just bring it to the laptops as an example. Here is what, if I want to AQL to do some filter on the data, I can also add AQL here, or I can even use some of those search before and even select and filter the data that I want to bring. Here's basically some other configurations that in terms of case matching, missing objects, etc. So you can play with those informations. And this type of data, the good thing is that there is all this detailed information on the, how do I say, in the help, how to deal with this, like case insensitive, if you want to update some data that are missing or not. So you can decide how to bring your data in terms of comparing what you have. So I can create that. And then I'm gonna go here. And then now I can start mapping, right, the data. So I'm gonna say name with name, OS version, operate system. Actually, let's see here. Let me see what I have here. Okay, manufacturing. I know that I have manufacturer. And then I can add that one. Let me update and add this other mapping here. I can also use like a reference if I need to, right, from different type of, field, or I would say reference is when you're doing some, how do I say, integration or relationships, and then relationships with other types of the objects that you might have. So I'm gonna just select here name for a sample. And then here I also want to bring the model status with status. And then I'm going to add also another one that is the model number. Let's see, actually, let me just get some of those items here. Yeah, model status, I already got it. So just basically a quick sample in how you can map the data between one source and another source, the data source from data manager and here to my table. Unfortunately, I didn't create the service, but yeah, I could create the servers here as examples for a class. So once I map in this data, make sure that you have the identifier here. And then the next step is enable. So you need to enable that to run. And then once you have this particular import done, enable and map, then you can import the data. So in this case, I'm bringing this data within an existing object class. Okay. If I come back to this one here, also the one that I was running before, probably already finished. Yeah, this one here. And then we can go and see the data. Let me just click here and then enable. And then let me just see here. Yeah, all good to go. So those are the two examples. I'm going to go back here to the IT. And then this is the one that I brought data in. And then this one here is the one that I brought data from scratch. So it's, as you can see here, this is basically create all the fields that I have in the data manager. And this other one, as I brought as an example, also brought additional data from data manager right here. So that's how you bring the data from data manager into the schemas within assets. So that said, I'm gonna just stop and ask if there is any questions. If not, I'm gonna move to the dashboard piece.
Yeah, we have got one question from Fadi. When I have a big file, why I need to make the import in 3 or 4 steps and not all at one time when I map data?
Okay, so can you tell me what's the average number of data that you're bringing on? Because we put some limitations in terms of the number of assets. Was initially 40,000 to bring into, but we raised that, I think 6,000 now. So can you check what's this? Can you let me know what's the size of it or volume of data? And then we did that because initially we were like testing performance, but as we see that performance is pretty okay and good, we kind of removed those of the limitations. But anyway, so let me know how many assets that you're trying to, and then I can check it out if there is any restrictions. But initially in the past, there was restrictions. Now we shouldn't have those restrictions anymore.
Okay, Fadi answered yes, it's less than 40,000, but I have a lot of objects and I have raised a ticket and Atlassian support helped me with it in 3 steps.
Oh, okay. So send me the ticket number, okay? Or if you want to even put in I would say, or send me even to, how do I say, private conversation. I can check that out and get back to you. Okay. Any other questions?
No more questions.
Okay, so and we are approaching the last part of this workshop. I know that's a lot of information, but if you get this webinar, I would say workshop and then go through all these details in a more like your own pace. That's gonna be also very good. So now we are gonna move to the optimize and create search and create dashboards. Okay, so now moving back to my instance here. Let me see which one I have the best. The last one that I did, yeah, this one here, that's a good one. And then I'm gonna go to my import and analysis. And then something that I want to show you basically is going here to the analysis and then the compute. And then here is where you can do a lot of more types of analysis with this data and create your own dashboards. And I'm going to show maybe like 3 or 4 examples of dashboards that are very useful for you. So something that we do is do the search, as I mentioned. So one of the searches is if you want to see all the servers or all the desktops, you can just say infrastructures contains servers. And I did this example before, but in this case, independent of this type of sources. I want to see all the servers in every single data source. So I can have this all my servers save as a type of a search. Or I can also I have another example that is basically all computers. I just save everything here as all computers. And then I can do some analysis between like assets that are in one only data source versus all computers. So anytime that you have your environment, I recommend you guys to create one search that has all the computers, all the items, okay? So then the second search that I would say is, let's say that you want to see all the data that is, as I mentioned before, let me just actually do this, that are in all the computers or SCM, for example, and are not in my antivirus. That's a classic example that I always show. So it is in my SCM, but it's not in my antivirus. So again, I can also click here and save as a new search. Another example that I use a lot is everything that's in my antivirus, right? And then is infrastructure type like servers or desktops. So with just 2 types of analysis, I can do some comparison charts, and then I'm gonna show you how those charts work. So as you can see here, I have now all the antivirus, all the items that are in the antivirus, and then is servers. Or I can also say everything that's not in my antivirus and are servers. So that's another type of search that usually I do and save. Another thing that we could do here is just like going back to the servers type of search, and I can view here, right, as a type of chart. So I can just say I want to see all my servers by OS. Then I can have an example of this chart right here. So I cannot save this chart, but at least I can see how that's going to look like. And then I can create something similar within my dashboards. So you can do any types of search. And then I can also do like servers. And on top of the servers, even do a new group of search. So within this data, I do another type of search. So there is all these possibilities to create as many types of analysis you want. So when you save this search, and I'm gonna go here in my analysis, and then you can see here in this environment that I have like almost 100 type of, I have like 87 types of searches. And then, as I mentioned, I have all computers by some of these types of sources. I have all computers, as I mentioned to you, like everything, so I can do some comparison. I have just Unix and Linux server. I have some comparison like computers that is in aptu, but it's not mapped in the environment. So you can do all sorts of analysis and save these searches. These searches are gonna be basically a base for you to create a dashboards. So when I go to dashboards, I have the example here of, I would say, I like this bar stack because you can see a comparison between those types of data sources. Computer type is a very classic one by like it's some type of attribute. And you can do these Venn diagrams, right? So I'm gonna show how to create those 3 or 4 type of charts. But before that, you have dashboards. I have the dashboard overview, and underneath overview, I can create also basically, here's a group, and here's a dashboard, executive dashboard under a group called overview. So, and then under this overview group, I can also, in this, how do I say, underneath of this dashboard, I can create several types of charts. So I'm going to show how to do from scratch everything. So first of all, I can create a new group. I'm going to create a group called AMA example. So I create that. And then now I can edit. Oh, sorry. Yeah, can edit. And then I can create dashboards. I'm going to just click here. I can create now dashboards underneath this group. So let's say that I want to create a dash for overview. Then I can create here. So as you can see here, I have AMA and dashboard overview. I can go here again, dashboard, and I can call executive. And then if I want this to be a default, as soon as I open the screen, I can click here. Okay, so now I have two types of dashboards under the group called EMA. So simple, right? So now if I want to create a chart here, right, I can add and then say all computers by OS. And then the type of chart, I want a pie chart, pie, and it's going to use data from my compute object. And then remember that I mentioned the search. So I'm going to use all searches. And then I'm going to talk about operating system. Boom, I have my chart. Okay, so I'm going to just click here, edit, pause, and then you can see again that title, my type of chart. We have several out of the box, my object class, where the data is coming from, what type of search I'm using, and the attribute. So the same type of a chart that I create there in my analysis, now I create here in my dashboard. Okay. So now I'm gonna to create another one that's gonna be three types of attributes of Venn diagram. So I'm gonna just call comparison data SCCM, AD, and AV. Then I'm gonna use Venn diagram and object class compute. I'm gonna use all computers, and I'm gonna use the data source, the data sets for SCCM, AD, and the AV. And then I can show proportional or not in any. So I can also add it here, and then boom. Now I have my three data sources within my all computers, and this here is, there's 3,000 items that's not in any of this. And then here's a comparison between the SCCM and AD, and these are the common data in between these three. Cool, right? And then you can also modify the layout, lock layout, and move the layout whenever you want. Or you can also do this and this. Fun, right? So now I'm gonna show you another example that is using two types of searches. And I'm gonna just lock the layout. Then I'm gonna go back here to my overview, executive dashboard. And then this one here, it's actually simple one. Is basically, as you can see here, I have the name, attribute by data source, bar stack. So you can see bar stack, compute, all computers again, attribute by platform, and then the value type I can use by data source. So here is showing the data source, or I can also see for preferred value. So here I'm preferring to show by data source. Very simple, right? So that's the one that I have here. And one more that I want to show you is this one here, that is a comparison between two data sources. That is my Windows servers at risk. So just a little bit different the way that you set up. So I have my name, the name of the chart that I want. And then this is a general pie chart. And then I'm using here from the compute objects. And then here I have two types of searches. So I have all Windows Server that doesn't have AV, and then all Windows Server. So two types of searches. So I have my all Windows server and comparing this data with the Windows servers that doesn't have AV. And then basically I have this kind of results. Good news too is that you can always click here, drill down, and then see what search was done. So as I mentioned, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have also this type of configuration available for trial. So you also can use this as an example. Okay. So that said, I'm going to stop here. I know that's a lot of information to consume, but again, you can always watch in your own pace. So the import to assets, and we went to the optimization, that's creating search and create some dashboards. So I'm going to stop and ask if there is any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to just show some additional configuration, and then we are going to be good for the day. So any questions, Kate?
Yes, we have got questions. So first question from Patricia, how to export the results in a CSV file?
Oh, okay, good point. Yes, that's a good question. So I'm going to just go here. So we also, let's see, schemas. So right here. Okay, so I'm in the important analysis screen, right? All based on search. So I'm gonna go here in the compute, you select the data that you want, and I can export current results, right? And then just give a name. We're gonna select less data here. I'm gonna just say I want just SCCM, right? And I want also only infrastructure type equals servers, and then I want also OS version like Windows. So you can see like I have 36K and we're gonna have a lot less. So it was just 158 data. So it's a lot less here. And we're gonna export and then say AMA export data and submit. Okay, the file was submitted, and then you go to downloads, and then you have the data and you can download as CSV. Cool, right? All right,
Okay,
so
great, thanks. And when if you are on the screen, it's connected from Patricia also question for adapters. When can we see more fields from Entra ID users?
okay, good point. So I have suggestion for if you have requirements about fields or changing or adding adapters, we do have an option to support that you can open a request, like not a ticket for issues, but a new request. And then we do have a backlog where you can vote. There is already several tickets there. And then if there is not a ticket asking for, just ask for as many as more we have requests for a particular item, they get like a bump in the backlog for the PM. So then unfortunately, like I don't have the time frame to add more, but it is in your roadmap to continue update those adapters and even creating more adapters.
Yeah, and we have got questions about two adapters. So from Marco, any adapters for Google Workspace?
Oh yeah, that's one of our list for sure. I'm gonna click here. Let me just go to my assets, data manager, and let's see here, open requests. Oh yeah, GM request to vote. So you can see that we do have a good number of requests here. So even one of the most voted, I think that's the native data transfer within the product. So and then you can even search here the requests that we have. And then as I mentioned, vote for the request that you want. So that can be bumped up in your backlog.
And
And
also a question about another adapter's sale point.
which one?
A sale point.
Okay, I don't think that we do have that one, but let me just show you something that I have here. Um, there is a document. Let me see if I can get to this document, and then I can show you what we have in the pipeline. This is my data manager page. Let's see, solution brief. So I do have a list of some of the open here. So I have a list here, and I need to also to put na. So these ones here, let me see if I can open a little bit more this screen. So this is the list that ones that we are working on, because this were before part of the air track as well, and we are testing. So some of those that's not there, like the VMware's one, I think there is some other here, right? So those SolarWinds, Puppet, so those are the ones that are also in our pipeline, Big Fix. So unfortunately, I don't see that one, but those are the ones that we are testing, and those probably are going to be even available faster. Some of those that's not there yet from this list. So I can share that. Or you can take a print screen as well. So
Okay.
again, yeah, so we are going to keep you posted, but always check on that list that I show you, and please vote and help us to decide.
Okay, thanks. Another question from Marco. Is it possible to schedule a synchro of adapter or is only manual?
Oh, yeah, you can definitely schedule. Yeah, because you can create scripts, right, with all that, right? So, like, let's say in my document here that I mentioned to you, I have even another document that, what I did is basically I copied this line, just change this name and copy like 10 times for all the adapters that I want, right, to run. And then I save, and then I can also put in a scheduler. So that can be done automatically.
Okay, great, thanks. From Rafael, is it possible to export a report?
The report, no, unfortunately. The data, yes. But you can give
Okay.
but you can give access to the report to just some specific people. Like let's say here, I'm gonna go to data manager, schemas, and then go here, and then general settings, and you see that data manager, I have dashboards view and editors. So I can put some people just to see, or add, so just to see dashboards viewer. And if I want allow people to edit, you can also have them editing. But otherwise, you can just give dashboards viewer to some people. They need a JSM license though. And by the way,
Okay.
data manager is just available for premium and enterprise.
Yeah, yeah. This is a good point. Yeah. Okay. Also, another question from Marco. Is it possible to schedule a job?
A job, is that what you're saying, Kate?
Yes, yes.
A job. So a job mean like he download the data, or okay, yes,
Can you,
yes.
Marco, clarify your question? Okay, so in the meantime, let's go. Okay, from Marco, Azure Active Directory job.
Okay, a job from Active Directory, Azure. So if you think about like he bring data from Active Directory, yes. So you have the adapter, right? And then same thing, you use the run job. So create a job, all jobs here, Active Directory. So I have the IG uh, user. I think I have also, oh yeah, Active Directory right here, right? So we can basically bring the data, and then schedule the job. All jobs can be scheduled. So something important, I mean, we do have just 1 minute, but I'm gonna publish it very soon, blog, right? Maybe videos too about these settings, right? So this is basically, this is very important one, is like the priority of the data, how you want the data to be reconcile. So my first priority here is like for SCM, AV, AG. So this is very important for you to configure. And then something that I'm gonna also publish very soon is the normalization use the compute dictionary. So we didn't went through this today, it was not part of this AMA, but I definitely want to do something related to the settings. And okay, remember I have this very good blog here about community, how to set up a data manager, right? And then there is all the details that I went through. And in here also the documentation, right? The relate documentation, and then how to video. So basically here, automate data ingestion. I don't have the video, but I have the documentation. And then also create searches and import. So I have all videos about that besides the create search and dashboards, but that one here, you can always click in the documentation. So if you have questions about like how to run a job, I always have this video, right? But you can always go here in documentation. The link is right there. Very easy for you to, go through the process. So you can always keep an eye here, like this particular, here the flow. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Kind of very easy to guide you to this process. Okay.
Okay, great. So maybe last short question from Rafael. Is it possible to share with other people who don't consume licenses?
Okay. So the dashboards.
Yeah,
No, not at this moment. Maybe in the future, who knows?
something like guest license or something like this.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
right now.
Okay, thank you.
All
Uh,
right. We are, I mean, I can stay a little bit more, but I mean, we are in the top of the hour. Just want to be respectful.
yeah, so I think that we can finish. Also, it was a question about link to the request to voting. So I will also attach this link in the email, also a link to recording, and also link to this article because I think that is also very useful material.
Yep. And then you can also always link the webinar here. So guys, I'm available. You can ask questions to the community, and we are all here to help you out with that.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much for all the moderators that were here helping answering questions. Thank you guys. I love being presenting to you, and I might do another session like this and another one even more advanced to go into the settings. That's gonna take less time, but being the watch, actually one more thing, I'm gonna be in the team, and we're gonna have this session hands-on. So if you haven't signed up for that, we're going to be in Barcelona in a couple of weeks, and we are going to deliver that as well. So thank you very much for everything, and I'll talk to you soon. Kate, so thank you so much for putting all this together.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Silvia and Claudia, Rick, Eugene, and also all participants. A lot of questions, so I'm very happy that this topic was interesting for you, and I hope that this session was really helpful for you to how to start with Data Asset Manager. So thank you very much for today, and you will receive an email with all links and all materials.
All right. Have a good one. Bye, guys.
Bye.